The new Canik Mate, or is it Meet? Whichever, it's the SFX model, meets the original TP9 SFX here on Riders Range. We're going to talk about them here in just a minute. Strictly a tabletop. We haven't had a chance to shoot this one yet. That'll be following up. Stay tuned. Stopped into Ann Arbor Arms the other day, and they told me, lo and behold, they had the new Canik Mate, or Meet, depending on how you want to pronounce it, the Canik website, or, if you really want to get technical, the Janisch website, although you walk into a gun store and say, I want a Janisch, most of the sales folks aren't going to know what you're talking about, but some will. But on the Canik website, and by the way, they do on their website pronounce it Canik, but anyway, they call it the Mate, specifically with the emphasis on the A part, Mate. But when you look at the dictionary definition of M-E-T-E, noun is a boundary or a mark the line. You've heard of meets and bounds. And also as a verb could mean distributed by measure. You've heard to mete out punishment. So call it what you want. Call it a meet, call it a Mate, call it a Canik, call it a Janisch. They'll figure it out. Anyway, they made two different versions of the Mate. SFX is what I have here, and I compare that with the original TP9 SFX. And this is mainly to look at the new one, but also to look at the differences between the two. Now, we did an original video on the TP9 SFX. I'll post it up here somewhere. Anyway, there are a lot of differences between the two guns. At first glance, it really doesn't look, other than the color, like they're any. And, of course, there's a red trigger safety tab on this one. It comes from the factory, YouTube reviewers. There's no change on that. The Mate does have a removable mag well. And those are the obvious things initially. There are some other differences, though. Let's start with the top and work our way down. The slides are obviously the same length, same lightening cuts on the front. However, the original TP9 SFX has striations down the full length of the slide as well as on the optics plate, whereas the Mate is smooth. You'll also notice a protrusion on the Mate that is actually a loaded chamber indicator, something that is not there on the original. Sights are a little bit different too. The Oren Tactical fiber optic front, flat black rear on the original Mate, and plain old white dot 3-dot system. It does have a cocking ledge, actually a very sharp cocking ledge on the rear sight on the Mate. Also, on the optics plate, which is removable, of course, the optics plate on the original TP9 SFX contains the sight. You take this plate off and put on one of 4 different optical plates, as you see in here, and you can run full size, the RMR type, Vortex Venom, Delta Point Pro, and whatever. Optics on top of that, but you lose your rear sight when you do it. But also on the original TP9 SFX, there's a removable handle that you can screw into either side of any of those optics plates. Whereas on the Mate, you only get 2, dig them out of the front here, plastic optics plates. And those are just locator plates more than anything else, and these are strictly for the RMRCC or the Shield RMSC for the micro dots, the smaller dots, which does a little bit get into the philosophy and the difference of the two guns. So as we look around this, you'll see other differences that would lend the original TP9 SFX to be more of a sporting or target type use, whereas the Mate would be again more of a probably a combat or defensive use, even though they're the same size and within half an ounce of each other for the same weight. There are differences that will lend them to different purposes, and we're going to talk more about those differences here in just a moment. On the port side, there's a on the TP9 SFX, there's a good index point for your support side thumb. On the opposite side, there's just the Made in Turkey indentation, which gives you a little bit of traction for your trigger finger. If you're left-handed, then obviously that's going to be reversed. Takedown levers are about the same between the two. The slide stop lever or slide release lever is probably more of a combat style. On the TP9 SFX, it protrudes a fair amount and has good aggressive texture on it, but is not ambidextrous. On the Mete, it's better blended into the frame. It doesn't stick out as much. I won't say any harder to get to, but just different to get to. It doesn't have the same level of traction on it, but it also is fully ambidextrous. So you can take it down with right hand, left hand, however you want to do it. Also, in place of there's a smaller roughed out area on both sides of the Mete, and there's a square area in front of that is supposed to be what locks into the holster. And now's the time, I guess a good time as any to open this up and look what it comes in the case, and it does have a holster. Now, look at the holster between that and the one that comes in the with the TP9 SFX, and there's really no noticeable difference between the two. I don't see anything that facilitates the locking. These holsters, as far as I'm concerned, are identical, except for the color, of course. And both of these holsters, by the way, are you can switch them from outside the waistband to inside the waistband, and the Mete fits just as well in both holsters. The original TP9 SFX fits just as well in both holsters. So I don't know what the deal is on the alleged locking points. Let's see, stick the cases back out here again, because there are a couple more interesting features in here. The original one I showed you comes with one back strap, comes with 4 different optics plates, comes with a little bit of a cleaning kit. Again, just one back strap. Let's see, comes with a mag loader, comes with 2 20-round magazines, and a tool kit that gives you tools, gives you extra screws. This is where that lever for the optics plate comes, the cocking lever. Whereas the new one, obviously different color, is actually pretty cool. Still got the cleaning stuff. This is the takedown tool. You can supposedly disassemble and reassemble this gun with just this one punch to do everything. And one back strap included. And this, no, you don't need to do a separate background check for this, because it's not really a gun. Let me set this aside here in just a minute. See, it does come with 118 and 120 round magazine, but basically the same type of case. This is the tool kit. Alright, has a place to put your tools inside here. You can use it as a screwdriver. The base plate of the minigun here slips off, and screws, hand tools. That is a cool addition. And again, fortunately, you don't have to do a separate background check to get this one. It's kind of a nice touch. It's I won't say humorous, but it is sort of humorous. Kind of cool to put that in there with the Mete. All right, let's see. Moving down the gun, the TP9 SFX has a very pronounced magazine release button. Not ambidextrous, but I believe it can be swapped over, and it can also be changed to different sizes. Now this one really sticks out good for competition use. The Mete has a much not flush fitting, but a much smaller one. It's still easy to get to without changing the grip. Not ambidextrous, but looking at them from the opposite side, they look the same, and I'm guessing that you can, if you really wanted to put the bigger one from the TP9 SFX on the Mete, you could probably do it. Both have Picatinny rails. Both have the same slide serrations. I'm bouncing around just a little bit now. Trigger, it looks different on this just because it has a different color safety tab on it, but they're both about the same. And again, these guns are unloaded. You can see that nothing in the magazine well, nothing in the chamber on either of these guns. Trigger on the original TP9 SFX has a little bit of take up. Then you can feel the right there. You can feel the internal firing pin safety being defeated, and then a clean, crisp break at a fairly consistent 3 pounds 10 ounces on this one, and very, very short reset. Amazingly short reset. One of the best triggers on the market out there, short of a 1911. The Mété, same thing. Feel the internal safety is being defeated right there. You can even see it up in here as that's working. And you get to a very clean, crisp break. No over travel. Still, best reset on the market. Got to love Canik triggers. The one on the Mété breaks at 3 pounds 8 ounces fairly consistently. It's only 2 ounces difference between the two. While we're in the trigger area, the trigger undercut is a little more pronounced. Well, actually, the undercut itself is about the same, but the bottom of the trigger guard is recessed in just a little bit more, and it's really not pushed in anymore. It's just it looks like a thinning of the material. You see, the material on the TP9 SFX seems to be thicker, and that again allows you to get just a little bit higher grip with the support hand. Does have a different, slightly different beaver tail, and the beaver tail on the Mété is supposedly more ergonomically contoured. It is rounded just a little bit more. I haven't had any problem in all the shooting I've done with the TP9 SFX, but it does look a little more rounded, a little more contoured to fit the hand. Feels no different to me. Again, interchangeable back straps. They are a little bit different in design. The texture on the backstrap on the TP9 SFX is the bumps or nodules, whatever you want to call them, just a little bit larger on the TP9 SFX. They're a little bit smaller, but also they feel a little rougher on the Mété. You're also losing the lanyard loop on the Mété that you had on the TP9 SFX. Texture on the side is decidedly more aggressive on the side of the grip panels, and on the front, whereas the TP9 SFX just had the same type of bumps or protrusions, you actually get the rough stipple type grip texture on the Mété. They do take the same mags. You can take the 20 round mags from the TP9 SFX, work them in the Mété. You can take the 18 or the 20 round from the Mété, work them in the TP9 SFX. And by the way, the magazines say 18 rounds, but these are 20 round magazines. The one of the flush base plate is an 18 round, so mainly a difference in adding the base plate gives you a little bit more capacity in the 20 rounder. I mentioned magwell. Even if you take off the larger magwell on the Mété, it still gives you a much better beveled in magwell than you get on the TP9 SFX. Now, for a competition model, which is what this is supposed to be, you'd think it would have a humongous magwell, whereas the defense or combat or duty model really has a much better magwell, and this one can be removed by pulling out one screw, sliding the magwell off. Other than that, these are pretty much the same guns. The price isn't that far off manufacturer's suggested retail price, but what you can find these for is a little bit different. The TP9 SFX seems to be running anywhere from $400 to $700, depending on where you're finding it, whereas the Mété runs right around $500 to $600, even though it's a brand new introduction. So it's going to depend on what you like. They're both usable. If you're looking strictly for a range and target type, you do have some features on this in addition to the larger optics that you can put on it. You can have the cocking lever that goes on the optics plate. You lose your rear sight, bigger mag release, and so forth. So again, a little bit more combat oriented or target oriented, but not for the magwell. Whereas the Mété, smaller sight, more duty type oriented, but a really nice magwell to go along with it. So there's the two. I'm going to take the new Meat or Mété out to, I'm going to meet the range with it, and we're going to try it out in the really near future and get another video up on how this performs. We've already done the video, as I said, on this one. I may take it out just for the heck of it and do a side-by-side with the two. We'll see what the differences and similarities, if there's any difference in performance, and we'll see how they work. So there's a quick side-by-side with the Canik or Janisch Meat or Mate versus the TP9 SFX here on Riders Range. Thanks so much for stopping in.